I think that President Trump's isolationist and I would argue reckless approach to foreign affairs has made us less safe, and I think his tariffs have hurt our economy. And I know President Trump and some in my own party think we should turn away from global engagement, but I think the opposite is the role we should be playing by re-engaging and re-emerging, revitalizing America's leadership. Not only we make our country safer, but I think we make our economy stronger. We make our country more prosperous.
That tactic, though, had it worked over the prior 20 years, specifically when applied to the question of trade with China?
Well, certainly. I'm not going to argue that China didn't cheat on international agreements, and without question, they were stealing intellectual property. You can't let that go on. I get that. But, I mean, maybe you can show me some examples of where tariff wars have ever helped either side. Again, I'm not a historian, but no one I've asked that question of...
It is bringing them to the table.
They were at the table. They were ready to negotiate, and there was a give and take, and maybe we weren't going as fast as we wanted. The risk associated with a tariff war, I don't think anyone's really taking into account. In the same way that our policies towards Iran and trying to re-implement that, isolate them again. Now some of our allies are finding different ways to trade, so they're not doing it using U.S. dollars as a medium for trade.
Is it not worth trying, though, given that this started a couple of years ago and the economy's been pretty resilient in the face of it? If progress is made, if a deal is made in the same way that it has been with the USMCA, will it not prove worthwhile long term?
Well, if the success of the deal is worth the risk. Again, I spent 20 years as an entrepreneur, so I look at things, is your reward worth your risk? And the risk here is pretty darn high. And I don't see, based on NAFTA, what we've seen, the benefits of NAFTA, was that worth the risk? Probably not. When you look at some of these electronics companies and how they're having to rebuild their supply chains because of these tariffs, these are jobs or supply chains that were designed to create jobs in the United States, and now those jobs are probably moving out of the country forever. Those are consequences that we could have anticipated.
More broadly, what is the economic message running against an incumbent in an economy with 3.6% unemployment?
Yeah, I got to say, the stock market's going great. But just because you have record stock market highs does not mean America's stronger or better. It doesn't mean Americans are doing better. If you look at, and I think this was going on obviously long before Trump became president, but from 1946 at the end of World War II up until 1981, essentially every man, woman, and child in this country doubled their income. Since 1981, 50% of the people are flat at best, and many have fallen backwards. I mean, our economy used to be a place...
What would you do to fix that?
I focus on small business. I mean, that's where I come from, and I look at trying to get more competition. For the last 20 years, every year we've seen less new companies created in this country. And part of it is that there's so many industries where just a few very large companies dominate. I'm not talking about tech. I'm talking about hardware stores, right? 80% of the gross sales in hardwares in the United States have come from 2 companies. I think we should provide a tax break for entrepreneurs to start businesses in rural areas, other distressed areas. I think we need to do training. A big drag on our economy, and Jamie Dimon says it could be, 2%, is we don't have workers with the skills that we need for the jobs that are open. We've got, 7.5 million skilled jobs that are unfilled right now and only 6.2 million people looking?
You also want to boost the minimum wage. Is that something you do begrudgingly, that it goes against your pure free market thinking and it's necessary because of the inequality, but you don't want it to do it against your corporate?
I have to say I spent a certain amount of time digesting that this was something I was supporting. But you step back and you look at 75 to 80% of the families in America are having a hard time balancing their household budgets every month. That's not the America that we grew up in, any of us. And I think it is going to require us to make some pretty significant compensations and adjustments.